exponent property. So, key thing, definition. An exponent is a base where the value indicates the number of times that the base is being multiplied. So when we think of our base, the exponent tells us how many times. X to the n tells us that there's going to be n factors. If it's x to the third, that would tell us 3 x's. X to the fifth would tell us 5 x's. So the x value and the n represents our exponent. Exponents can be represented, our mathematical shorthand for our multiplication. Numbers expressed in exponents are called powers. Older calculators often have that caret key to represent that, or you might see the y to the x, or sometimes an x to the y key on your calculator. So making sure you know how to use those when we take the quiz. Okay? To apply exponents, and it says when we are looking at the entire value which is with having that negative. So the base value must be enclosed in our parentheses. This one tells us -4 times -4. By the way, if you don't remember some of the rules that we're going to go through shortly, what you can always do is think of what does this exponent tells us. It tells us to do 2 of them. Negative times negative gives us positive 16. Notice they say these two are not the same. Because it says if we are looking at the exponent applies to an entire parenthesis which is attached. But if the base value is enclosed in the parenthesis, the exponent applies to the number which it is attached. So there's no parenthesis, okay? -4 to the second, we talked about that. It's kind of like saying the opposite of 4 times 4. So right behind this one, if you would please put the -1 times 4 to the second, which means the opposite, write that please, of 4 to the second. That's how they got -16, because it's the opposite of 4 to the second. So putting that -1 times that gives us a -16. Thinking of that negative out in front as being the opposite, whereas this one tells us we're going to multiply -4 squared. That means -4 times -4. So this is kind of where a lot of times I'll have students make mistakes on the quiz. They'll put things in their calculator and they think they're doing it right, and that's where they'll run into some mistakes. On this next page, we are going to fill in first the symbolism, which is the symbols that we look at. So that first one, anything to the 0, please write down x to the 0 equals 1. Negative exponents, what's the word we said that we're going to associate with that? Reciprocal. But this one, I want you to notice that they had it in the numerator. But we've also seen something like this, 1 over x to the -m, which then we move it to the numerator. Okay? So it could be either way, right? If it's a negative exponent, we are moving it. You're writing this down in your notes. It's right in your notes. This is like right from the notes. You're just filling these in. Okay? The next one, the product rule. X to the m times x to the n means that we are adding the m plus n. When we multiply with the same base, we add our exponents. Multiply with the same base, we add our exponents. The quotient rule, that's the last one that we were just working with. That's when we divide, we subtract the exponents. Power to a power. What does it look like in symbols? X to the m raised to the nth power, that's when we multiply as we are looking at that. Product to a power, that means you're going to have two things inside this parenthesis, and they show it this way. They show it as xy to the m power. You have to take each thing to that power. X to the m power, y to the m power. And the last one for our quotient power, if we're going to show the symbols of that, it's when you have a division problem and you have x over y to the m power. Now I'm also going to show you kind of in words what each of these are. So that first one, anything that's not 0 to the 0 power equals 1. Yeah. I'm going to leave it all up here so that you'll be able to write with it. I'm not going to take it out and write everyone down. This next one, negative exponent, keyword we want to associate with that is that we are doing the reciprocal. So negative exponent, key thing we want to look at is we are talking about the reciprocal. For in your notes would be that you put multiplying same base, add exponents. Dividing same base, subtract exponents. Power to a power, multiplying exponents. So if you don't have all the vocabulary with that, I'm okay with that, but make sure that that's kind of making sense as you look at those rules. This last one, and again, if you get stuck when you're doing these on the quiz on Monday, and today on this homework quiz that we're going to give you, that I'm going to give you, if you get stuck and you're looking at this problem and you go, oh man, power to a power, the key thing when you have a product as a power, each factor has to be raised to that power. When you have quotient to a power, both top and bottom are raised to the new power. So they both have to have this m with it. They both have to be raised to that power. And the place where students probably forget it the most often is that when you have a number, like if they have 3y to the second power, they just put 3 and then they multiply the exponent with the variable. So I'm going to give you a minute, maybe the 4th of March, so Monday this week, okay, because tomorrow we have the play musical that we're going to. It is going to be 48 points, 24 questions, which is pretty much 2 points per question. So showing your work and then the correct answer, exactly. Key thing I'm going to look for when it's simplified, like we looked at the quiz that I just did on the board, you can have no negative exponents. If you have any negative exponents, you're probably going to have that marked wrong. So on the whole thing, no negative exponents. Okay? The next thing I am going to take a look for is that you don't leave anything to the 0 power. Okay? Anything to the 0 power, you must tell me whatever that is to the 0 power equals 1. If you leave it like something to the 0, it's going to be marked wrong. That's not simplified. And then the other thing that I just talked about on the quiz is that you cannot have the same variable. So no, you cannot have the same variable in both the numerator and denominator. Or you can't have something where you can't have something like x to the 4th times x to the 3rd, right? Because that can be simplified. You can add those. So that when you simplify, I can only have one x to an exponent. If I have x's and y's in numerator and denominator are multiplied by each other, that's not in simplest form, okay? So when you are thinking about that, these are going to be the key things, and from those rules that we just went over, that's what you want to study and go over. So it's a 48-point quiz as you are looking at this. When you are working, you're going to be working today after the quiz on 6b. I want you to take a look at 6b and number 32. You will not see something like that on the quiz. It will not be that difficult. So this is way back on 46, 47. There probably won't be one quite as difficult as 24, but you should kind of make sure you're taking a look at that. By the way, if I have a negative number to an even power, is it positive or negative? Negative number to an even power. That means I'm going to have 4 negatives. My answer should always be, wait, a negative number to the 4th power. I have 4 negatives that I'm multiplying together.
Oh,
is it negative or positive?
Positive.
That's always, always, always positive. So, negative to an even power, always going to be, so this answer is going to be positive, okay? The first thing I would look at with this one is so we could almost ignore that negative, right? Because really, when you take that whole negative to an even power, it's going to be positive. So the first thing I would look at if I'm looking at 24 is rewriting it with a positive exponent. So put the book on your paper as you're taking a look at this question number 24. If I'm changing that to a positive exponent, Olivia, what would I have in the numerator now of 24? 4x. And it's still going to be negative 5, okay? Because you're taking the reciprocal of everything inside of there. And then I have 12x to the negative 5. Now, it's really not that bad of a problem, right? Because what happens to x to the negative 5 over x to the negative 5?
They both switch.
They could both switch, but what else do you know when you take negative 5 minus a negative 5, or when it's exactly the same in the numerator and denominator? That's the same as not 0, but 1 when we simplify. So when I am taking a look at this, x to the negative 5 over x to the negative 5, that's 1. So now you're just simply simplify here first. What do you get when you have 4 over 12 simplified? 1/3. So put it as 1/3. Now take them each to the 4th power, right? We don't want to take 4 to the 4th and get a huge number and 12 to the 4th and get this massive number. Simplify this first to get your answer, okay? So you are going to be doing 12b today in class. I will be helping you if you have questions or want to go over that. And then you should take a look at 12c. And I would say I'm not going to be as worried if you don't have 12c done for Monday's quiz, but you should definitely, or 6c, but I definitely need 6b done for the quiz. So I don't mean that page, 6b needs to be completed for Monday. Here is the quiz that we are going to take. So on this